be fine.
All right, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Lissa Robles Luna. I have been coming to this church for almost 2 years. I got started coming here because of CrossRoads. Someone gave me the name to CrossRoads and let me know that it was a 12-step. It was the 12-step biblically. And I was already doing the traditional 12-step, but I wanted to learn it through Christ. So as I've learned that, it has made a major difference, big difference in looking in the steps. From there, I started I am so nervous and I am so sorry. I started taking the women's class that is offered on Tuesday. Miss Kelly teaches those, and I went 2 rounds through them of those, and then, everybody kept inviting me to church, and I was like, oh, next Sunday. Well, that Sunday finally came. I woke up early and said, today's the day, and I felt very welcoming. The minute I came in, I felt very welcomed, very loved, very, like I wasn't any different than any of you. I came, the message was very clear. I understood it. And I seen that there's not only, there was people like me that walk the curvy road and not just the straight and narrow. And what I mean by that, for those of you that don't know, I am a recovering addict and alcoholic. This April will be drug-free 23 years. In March, it will be 3 years alcohol-free. And it hasn't been easy. I used to hop from church to church to church because I didn't feel welcomed. I didn't feel like I belonged. I felt different than everybody else until I came here. And it's almost been a year that I did my first testimony, which was so unintentional. He said, sign up, like he just did, sign up on the back over there. I did. I really assumed that I would get shuffled in through the paperwork and not really actually get called. And then he called me. So I went ahead and did it. And just like this time, spare the moment, called me, and well, here I am. Sorry, lost in my paperwork here. So I did it, and all of you made me feel very welcomed, very, I had been going a little bit before I did my testimony, so I felt very welcomed. And I actually, when I came up here to do my testimony, I had told you guys secrets that, was never told out loud, ever. I never spoke them out loud. The things that had happened to me, they were in the dark cave, and I thought that if somebody knew, you weren't going to ever look at me the same or respect me. And you guys did. After I told my testimony, you guys talked to me, you hugged me, you respected me, you continued to treat me the way you did before. So I became very comfortable, and I started I took the first round of step classes through the books and was very honest in those. I'm doing my second round now and have continued to be very honest with secrets that were unspoken. And once again, you guys still care for me. All the ladies still care for me 100% and treat me like I belong and like my life mattered. Something that my own family hadn't done. Sorry. And then everything was going along really good. I was learning about God. I was supposed to, somewhere in the back of my mind, I thought, oh, God is going to take care of everything. Well, no. Everything went along until about the end of 2017, and my husband lost his job. He x-rayed and repaired silos, and he was the major breadwinner of our household. And we were struggling with bills, how to figure out how to pay them. I got behind on my truck payments, and my truck got repoed. Well, I can't work without my truck because I contract through, I'm a CNA, but I contract by myself, so I needed my vehicle. And someone in the church found this out and went and paid for my truck. And my own family didn't do that. And all she said was it was a gift, because I told her, I can't pay it back. Can you please go get your money? I can't pay you for my truck. And she said, that's not what I want. Many years ago, someone helped me, and I haven't been able to pay it forward until today. Now I'm asking you, when you have a chance, please pay it forward. And I have not been able to pay it back cash-wise, but I do service work. I speak about the church. I spread the word of God. I take people to work. I give them rides to meetings. Meanwhile, my husband is still looking for a job. It's not as hard. It's very hard for him to find a job because we let his work visa expire. And so he only has an I-10. A lot of companies will not hire you if you only have an I-10. For those of you who aren't sure what that is he's from Mexico, so not a U.S. citizen. We're in process, but not quite there yet. And so he's been roofing, and there hasn't been a whole lot of work of that either. So meanwhile, I've been taking odd jobs to pay the bills and to make sure everything gets, left on. So the end of 2017, beginning of this year, has been a real test of faith. My youngest son, Jordan, for those of you that don't know, he's 7 and he has autism, along with many other things. He has been very sick. He has not been sleeping. He stays up for days. He can't handle going through school without falling asleep, and we haven't been able to figure out what's going on. The doctors have narrowed it down to his adenoids and his tonsils grew bigger than what he was. And for normal kids, that's an easy process. It's a tonsillectomy. It's very easy. But my son, when he was born, the left side of his body is smaller than the right side, which means his heart and his lung work overtime because they're smaller. So we were told by the doctors if he would have to have surgery, there was a 75% chance. That there was a 75% chance that he would stroke out, have a heart attack, or die. As a Christian, I prayed really hard. But as Jordan's mom, I cried and questioned God, why? I mean, don't I have enough on my plate already? And I became angry. But yet, I prayed, and I tried to stay faithful and try to give it all to God and hope for the best. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I knew, though, that God wouldn't have carried me this far just to drop me on my face. Meanwhile, we had a sleep study done in Kansas. We were going to have a sleep study done in Kansas City, Missouri. This would tell us the outcome of whether Jordan would have to do surgery or what. And so we had just enough money because I'm the only one working. We had just enough money. And that was without me paying for my meds to make it to Kansas City and back. My daughter loaned me some food stamps and, we made sandwiches. And so we made it there. But there was a weather advisory. My husband refused to stay home knowing that something could go wrong on the drive there because it was icy, it was snowy. And there was a weather advisory. We did not have enough money for a hotel room. So my husband was going to sleep in my car. And I asked my mom for the money to get a hotel room, and she refused. She said, well, that's not my issue. I prayed for her because she doesn't always see the bigger picture, or she's very stubborn in her ways. Meanwhile, I called the hospital to see if they could give us a room. I called all the Ronald McDonald's house. Everybody was full. Is there a tissue up here by any chance? I'm sorry. And all the Ronald McDonald houses were full. We were on our way. He was determined he was going to stay in the car. We were halfway to Missouri when the Ronald McDonald house called, and somebody had canceled. And they could fit us in. It was a great learning lesson because I had told Jordan, hey, check it out. All the change that we put in the box that you always wonder why can't it go in your piggy bank, it was to help somebody else to stay with their loved ones. And now somebody else's change was going to help us. I was ecstatic that I could, give him that learning experience. I'm sorry. So I am so grateful, though, that we got a room because as they hooked up, only one of us could stay with Jordan in the hospital as they hooked him up to machines. And Of course, he freaked out. He cried, he screamed and fought and was terrified. And I couldn't calm him down. So I am grateful to God that Abe was able to go because he let them hook up the wires to him, and Jordan, seeing that it had Dad's approval, it was great. It was okay. And they made it a joke. So then he realized it wasn't near as bad as what he thought, and I was grateful that Abraham could be there. Meanwhile, while I was there, I met a young lady who her whole family just consisted of her 3-year-old daughter and her mom. Her daughter was doing treatments there and would come back to the Ronald McDonald house, and Jordan made a new friend. And I got to talking to this young mom who was 23. Her daughter, her 3-year-old, had stage 4 cancer. The doctors kept telling her there was no hope. The Friday before, she had just found out her mom had not been feeling well, and they found out that she also had stage 4 cancer. So she was about to lose her whole entire family. And not one time did this young lady waver in her faith. All she kept repeating was, God never puts on us what we can't handle. He never puts more on our plate, and they're in God's hands. Everything will be just fine. Not one time did she shed not one tear. Well, I was crying for her, And meanwhile, short jump, my leg and my back are getting worse. There are days that I can't even go to the bathroom by myself. They're talking about surgery to fix it, and hopefully that will fix it. So, I once again, poor me, because all I can think about is if they do surgery, I'm the only one working. How is the bills going to get paid? How are we going to do this? Meanwhile, I'm in Missouri, with my son thinking, oh my God, there's one more thing. And that's all I hear is one more thing just added onto my plate. And, so we're on the way home from Missouri. My son is watching a movie and my husband's driving, and all I could do is look around, and then, I just start crying uncontrollably, And my husband asked me, well, is your back hurting? And I just looked at him, and all I could say was no. And, I'm just crying uncontrollably. And I explained to him, the light came on, the God moments, all these God moments on this trip. And getting here from the middle, the end of 2017 to now, all these God moments that I missed, all of them, the room, listening to this lady's story, Abe getting to have a room to be there with us, and just all sorts of little stuff, that I missed, that I was so caught in myself and in my, oh, poor me, pity potty, that I didn't see them. And it finally clicked on the way home. And I thought, here we are going back to Salina, where I have my mom. And yeah, she's appealed, but she's my mom. And when I need help, she's there. When I need my brother, he's a jerk, but he's there. My sister, we're very chaotic and very dysfunctional. But boy, when one of us need each other, we pull together. And I thought, this whole lady is losing her whole entire family in one shot. And I'm thinking, how am I going to pay the bills? Are you kidding me? Really? I mean, it was nothing. And in the scheme of life, it was absolutely nothing. And so I stopped to look, and I started thinking of all these God moments that I missed. And, I started praising God and thanking him for the joy. And my husband very rarely prays with me. That day, he did pray with me on the way home. And, it was like he looked at life through a whole nother set of eyes as well. And, we said, well, God's carried us through this far. I still have a roof over my head. I have food in my belly, the lights, water, gas in my car. I still have my car to go to work and make what little bit of money I'm making. And we've scraped by. We've robbed Peter to pay Paul, made payment arrangements, but check it out. We've made it. We're a whole lot further than where she is. So a couple of weeks ago, I'm driving down the road, and the doctors call and say that Jordan, at this time, his heart is not strong enough for surgery. But we're going to check him in every 6 months, check, and until his heart can be strong enough. You know, we adjusted some meds, we added some meds, and for the first time since the middle of 2017, my son is my son again. He's laughing, he's sleeping normal, he can make it through a whole day of school. And all this time, God carried me. And I was so stuck in myself that I didn't see that. So out of the message that I'm trying to give to you, I'm not trying to win applaud or whatever. I'm trying to tell you, everybody gets stuck in their own head, but we have to stay strong, stay faithful, and really, you know, pull ourselves out, because God knows what's best for us. And even though we don't see it, God does. And with the final thought, I want to leave you with one of my favorite passages, because my journey is just beginning with God. And it is Luke 7:47 through 48. Therefore I say to you, her sins, which are many, are forgiven. For she loves much, but she who is forgiven little loves little. Then he said to her, her sins are forgiven. Thank you.